As I'm recording this, it's in the middle of the coronavirus crisis, and I often see people posting things about that they're bored in their, they're stuck at home and they're not supposed to go outside and they're not supposed to do a lot of things, and they're bored. And it occurred to me that they needed a little Viktor Frankl, he was a psychiatrist, and when he was thrown into a concentration camp during World War II, and he spent 3 years in a concentration camp. He was already a psychiatrist when he was thrown into these camps. He was at Auschwitz, he was at Dachau, and there was another one, and he learned a lot, and he kind of took it on himself to be responsible for the mental health of his fellow inmates since he was a psychiatrist. And he learned a lot in doing that and wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is a fantastic book, very small but very powerful. And I wanted to share with you a couple of quotes from him and talk about it. The reason I wanted to do this is because I think with his perspective, you couldn't really be bored. I think perhaps being bored is a symptom of asking the wrong question. So this is the first quote by Viktor Frankl. Quote, "It did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. We needed to stop asking about the meaning of life and instead to think of ourselves as those who were being questioned by life, daily and hourly. Our answer must consist not in talk and meditation, but in right action and in right conduct. Life ultimately means taking the responsibility to find the right answer to its problems and to fulfill the tasks which it constantly sets for each individual." Unquote. And I just thought that was such a great perspective and something so needed, that instead of asking what's life offering you, to ask what's life asking of you and answer it. And almost everybody has an immediate answer. There's some concrete assignment that life is asking you to fulfill. And your task is to find out what that is and fulfill it. And for example, you see people doing this with, right now there's a shortage of face masks in hospitals. Our nurses and doctors are having to reuse face masks. They don't have enough, and they are putting their lives in danger because of it. And so there's people around the world that have just started sewing face masks for doctors and nurses, and people are making YouTube videos that, so in other words, somebody that can sew, that knows how to sew, goes, well, I can do that. There's something life is asking of them, and they don't feel bored. They have a purpose. They have a real reason to be doing what they're doing. They're looking at what life is asking of them, as opposed to what can I get out of this, or what is life offering me. So, and then people that can make YouTube videos, they go, well, I know how to do that. I can make a YouTube video about how to make hand sanitizer, or how to sew face masks. So people are doing that. People are using what they have to give what they can. This is another quote by Viktor Frankl, kind of in the same vein, but a different way of saying it. Quote, "The meaning of life differs from person to person, from day to day, and from hour to hour. One should not search for an abstract meaning of life. Everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment." Unquote. I love that. To carry out a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment. That's something to search for. I see people Skyping lonely elderly people. They're doing that. They see a concrete need and they're trying to fill it. And that's what Viktor Frankl himself did while he was in the concentration camps. They had a rule in concentration camps that you were not allowed to stop somebody who was trying to kill himself. So if one of their fellow inmates was in the process of killing himself, if anybody stopped him, their whole barracks would be punished. So nobody could stop somebody. They had to catch them beforehand. So they kind of relied on people that knew something about human nature, rabbis and psychiatrists, to help these people who are contemplating suicide. So whenever somebody heard somebody contemplating suicide, they would come and tell Viktor Frankl, and he would go talk to this person. And he would find that it doesn't take much to make somebody realize that they want to live, even under those horrible, horrible circumstances. For example, there was one where a guy he'd written 9 volumes of some work, body of work, and he hadn't finished the 10th volume or something. He hadn't finished his body of work. And Viktor Frankl was able to get him to see that nobody else can finish this work for you. This is something that life is asking of you. Finish your work. There was another guy that had a relative somewhere. I think it was a niece or something like that. He had, and she had been able to get out of Germany in time, and she was staying with somebody in Switzerland, and he was her only remaining living relative. And that was enough to say, for Viktor Frankl to say, look, you're the only one she's got left in her family. You have to survive for her sake. And that was enough. That was enough of a purpose for him to keep on living, even under these horrible circumstances. So now this is something for you to ponder. What is life asking of you? Here's another final quote I'm going to share with you from Viktor Frankl. Quote, "We do not ask life what the meaning of life is. Life asks us, what is the meaning of your life? And life demands our answer." So I invite you to look into your life and find what concrete assignment demands fulfillment, and do that. And you will find that you are not bored. So just ask yourself, what calls to you? What do you look out into the world and see needs help or needs to be done? What's needed that you have the skills or inclination or money to do? And like Frankl said, it doesn't have to be earth-shaking. It could be something immediate, something in your family that needs to be done, something in your household that needs to be done, something in your neighborhood, something in your town, or something in the world, something on Facebook, something on Instagram, something that you see that's a need that needs to be accomplished, that needs to be some concrete assignment that demands fulfillment and that you are capable of fulfilling. Do that, and you will never be bored. This is Adam Lee Kahn on The Atom Bomb.